Celebrating Women's Day isn't just about one day, it's about sharing the stories of women every day. Stories that remind us they are more than just their roles. Just like sustainability isn't just about policies or products, it's about people. And women have been leading this movement in ways that often go unnoticed. But stepping up, speaking out, and creating real change comes with its own challenges. Today, we are sitting down with someone who is using storytelling to inspire action. Shrishti Kukreja, the co founder of Jenny and winner of the Rising Star Award 2024. Through her work, she's making sustainability more relatable and real. Let's hear about her journey, her challenges, and how content creation can drive change. Hello, thank you so much for joining, and happy Women's Day to you, firstly.
Thank you so much, and a very happy Women's Day to you and to all of your viewers as well.
Thank you. And since you have been somebody who has been telling sustainable stories for a long time, why don't we start with that? Can you tell us about what Jenny does and how did you start into this content creation journey?
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I could introduce myself. Awesome. Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, I'm Srishti. I'm the co-founder of Jenny. Jenny is a media brand that focuses on sustainable storytelling. Our sort of idea behind Jenny was to make sustainability mainstream and to make it relatable. Because the issue with the sustainability space we felt was that it is a very far-fetched concept to many, right? When we speak about sustainability to many, it's about global warming, to melting glaciers in the Arctic, right? But that's not very relatable to the audiences of today. So how do we make sustainability mainstream? How do we tell people about actions that they can take so that the world just becomes a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more greener? And also, how can we showcase entrepreneurs who are doing some great things in this space and take them to their consumers? So that was the idea behind Jenny. It was solution-driven impact storytelling, and that's the theme that we've been following ever since we launched.
And what challenges have you faced in this space as a woman? Because a lot of times, a lot of women founders have said that when they approach people, it's usually they are asked some things like, who is your boss? Or some kind of questions which are very gender based. So, were there any challenges that you have faced when you started, storytelling in this space, and how did you then overcome this?
I think so. The great thing about sustainability is that when you go to someone, they're so what is the word that I'm using looking for? Um, they're so passionate about the environment that other things take a backseat, like who's the founder. So personally, I've never had any bad experiences with Jenny. But yes, before this, I've been working as a journalist for many years now. And yes, there are, of course, certain challenges that women do face, especially in the field of journalism. I think you would also be aware about that. Um, one of the things that I've noticed from the entrepreneurship point of view is that many people think that women-led startups or women-led businesses, which are socially driven, are not commercially viable. Or if they are social impact, then they should not scale, or they should not think of
Profit
commercials.
doesn't have to come.
And I that, sorry.
The profit doesn't have to come. Like it's very do it for free, do it for experience sort of thing.
Exactly. So, do it for the social impact. But I think that is one of the challenges that a lot of women face, and that is something that we should address going forward as well, and change the narrative that socially driven, impactful startups run by women can also be profitable and can also be scalable.
Also, talking about women entrepreneurs, especially in this field, also because I think your content has a way where you also tell the story as well as the founders are also present in the video or in the content that you are creating. So both are very evident there. Have you noticed any change in the way male founders approach the camera versus women entrepreneurs? Is there anything that you've noticed?
So the women founders that we've featured in Jenny, they've been amazing. They're awesome, and they're doing some great work in the impact narrative. But generally speaking, when we do approach brands, what happens is that I've realized is that men have internalized confidence in a way. Like they are very comfortable speaking about their achievements in public. Whereas with women, sometimes they might think that they're bragging about their achievements that might not necessarily be true. Like these are genuine points that they want to bring forward, but there might be a little bit hesitancy around that. Maybe because we've been told not to brag a little bit too much, or we've been told not to scream about our achievements from rooftops. But I think that is changing, and I feel like that's where Jenny also makes impact, because the more we feature women founders, the more other women watch them, and I feel like the more encouraged they also get to come out and speak up about their achievements. So we absolutely love working with women founders for because of this.
And how can even more female entrepreneurs, they can overcome this, and how can they tell their stories confidently, especially because social media is a game changer. Like, it's a place where you have to promote and you have to talk about your achievements first, then
Yeah.
others can start talking. So how can they do it?
Yeah. So, see, like we were speaking about before, right? Between men founders and women founders, what would be the key difference? I feel like one of them would be, with women, it's also there's this additional factor of how are we looking, right? But it doesn't have to be about that. So we have to break all those shambles and look at it only from a perspective of the work that we are doing, and be able to tell the story of our work. Once we do that, I think we can encourage other women to also come out and tell their stories without really thinking about the vanity aspects of storytelling.
So
So
focus
I think
more
the
on the
media in
work.
that plays a very big role, right? Like we have to normalize women founders coming out and telling their story in quirky ways, and make sure that it also encourages other women to come out.
Fair enough. And how do you see women leading the sustainability movement? I think from your work, we've seen that you've featured works of Jharkhand tribal workers, artisans, bare necessities, and other women too. How can more
Yeah.
women come here?
I think there are already a lot of women founders in the sustainability space. It's just that, a lot of them we still have to discover, which we hope to do via Jenny. I think with women today, there are a lot of resources that are available. There are a lot of incubation cells. There's a lot of grants that are accessible to everyone, especially in the sustainability space. So I think nothing is impossible for women. They should come out, and they should be able to work in the space, and from a space, if they're passionate about it. Now, it's not just about sustainable brands. Like you can have, say, for instance, a fashion brand, but maybe have some aspects of it which are sustainable as well. So sustainability doesn't only have to be about having a sustainable brand, but also bringing aspects of sustainability into any mainstream brand as well. So even if you're working for any mainstream brand, how do we make that a little bit more sustainable? So that's also another question that we should be asking. And I think that's very much possible, regardless of genders.
How can that be done? Can you give some examples how people can actually have sustainable practices in their everyday life, which is not too expensive to do and something that they can do it easily?
So are we speaking about personal life right now? Like what are some of the steps that we can take
In
personally, or from
both the ways, from
at their offices or their workspaces, or how
both the
to build
spaces,
a
like,
sustainable
yeah, in terms of
startup?
workspaces also, and in terms of their personal life, everyday thing.
Okay, so in terms of personal life, I think it's very simple. It's You could start with just the basics, right? Like from a personal perspective, go for brands that are sustainable in terms of packaging, for instance. That would be step one. Just go out with a water bottle. It's the easiest. You're not drinking microplastics. Drink from a steel bottle, copper bottle, so that you're getting the right kind of water, right? So that's step one. So it's just something as basic as that. And when it comes to your workplaces, maybe try and talk to the management. Your I have covered many companies and also seen this practice where they don't use disposable plates and cups and spoons, right? So you look at using steel cutlery. And I feel like both men and women in the workspace, when they approach their management, or when they approach the HR, and they can ask for small changes like this, which does not really impact the day-to-day workings of an office, it can really make a big impact in the sustainability space.
It's a moment that everybody has to contribute to at the end of the day for it
Yeah,
to be effective. Also, one
yeah.
thing with climate change has been that usually marginalized women tend to be facing the more burden as compared to other sections of the society. How do we ensure that sustainability isn't just only a buzzword, but actually leads to these systemic changes also, and it improves their life too? Because I think most of the laborers, workers, especially in this summer when things get bad, they are the ones who tend to be impacted the most. So how can that?
Absolutely. You made a very, very valid point over there. In fact, even if you look at the agriculture field, for instance, right, there are a lot of women in the workforce. A lot of the food that we get is because of women who are in agri, and they are the first point of contact that actually get impacted by climate change. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, like when I speak to women, I go on shoots and speak to women, right? A lot of their husbands or brothers have left their villages to come to cities and to take up jobs over here. So it's the women back home who are actually tending, and these are small holding farmers. So they are the ones who are actually tending to their farm. And a lot of the men have actually taken loans to be able to come to the city and work. So they're also going to other people's farms to be able to pay off those loans. And they are the first people who are impacted by climate change. And I feel like that was one of also the key reasons why we started Jenny, is that we saw firsthand how much of a difference climate change is making into the lives of women and people generally in agri. Now, one thing that we can do is supply chain companies should sort of close the gap between pay for men and women, because women again are a lot in have been hired a lot in throughout the supply chain of agri companies. So that could be one way where we can sort of bridge the gap between men and women, pay women fairly, so that there is more sustainability, because sustainability isn't just about climate change, right? That sustainability is also about bridging the gap. It's about an equal society, and I think when we start doing small things like that, we can really be a sustainable country. It has to start small, and it has to come from. I feel like it has to come a lot from big companies. That could be one of the starting points.
Right, and slowly, so top down approach where it starts from big company and then slowly comes down to the smallest parts of it. Also, last,
Absolutely. And from a personal, sorry, but from
no,
a
no,
consumer perspective, if you're asking me, it would be just encourage art forms that are a lot, that are encouraged by women, right? For example, when I went to Chhattisgarh, and when even other places in the north of India, and there are different art forms like Sohrai. If you're speaking about South, then you have the Udupi saris, which are, handloom saris, which are made by women, right? Encourage these art forms that are made by women. And I think from a consumer perspective, we can do that to encourage more women-led art forms.
to buy more local products in a way, especially handmade and hand groomed products.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lastly, what
And
is,
also,
yeah,
from an agri perspective, sorry, again, from a consumer perspective, right? Even if you look at a lot of these agri products, like a lot of processing units are run by women. So do a little bit of background research, see which of these, processing units are bridging the gap between male and female. And they're actually a lot of these women go into forests, they bring fresh produce, they're processing it, and they're selling it online. So maybe, we could look at brands like this and actually encourage women-led initiatives, especially in the agri sector. There are a lot of farmer producer companies which are run by women. So look at those and also encourage that. I think that would really help. It also helps India as a whole, and it also helps women of India.
so push the entrepreneurs to buy their products so they get access to the financial help that is, of course, required to sustain their businesses.
Absolutely. And it's much deserved as well.
And also, lastly, what advice would you give to young women who want to use storytelling as a tool for change, who want to start creating content on social media? I think in the beginning, like you had said, that a lot of women are very conscious about their looks, or probably we have this fear that, oh, somebody will comment this, or oh, I would be judged based on this. So if somebody wants to start creating content, come into this field and just, tell their stories or just share their achievements, what would be your advice for young women?
Yeah, it's so coincidental you're asking me this question, because just before this interview, I read a comment about my looks, not so good comment about my looks. And, I was like, okay, what do I do? But I think come from a space of authenticity and forget everything else. That's what I would like to tell young women who want to tell stories. Be very authentic to who you are as a person. Initially, it might take a little bit of time to figure that out. But once you take the first step and record that first story, you would get to know. And as and when you progress and start uploading more and more content, you will get more and more comfortable in front of the camera, and you yourself will start to discover more aspects of your personality, which you can then sort of, put it out there for the world to see. Uh, Take the first step without really thinking about, okay, I still have to figure this out or I have to figure that out. Like with Jenny also, we just went ahead and took the first step and we figured things out as and when we kept uploading content. So that I think is very important. Take a first step, be authentic, and drop all the conditioning that's in your mind.
So just start creating and see how it goes.
Yeah, start creating. Like I said again, I mean, I think a lot of content creators will tell you this. It's something that's very common. They keep using the word authenticity, but as and when I make content, I think that's not cannot be more and more truer. Is that if you're not authentic on camera, then you're not relatable to people. If you're trying to be someone else, then why would they not watch that someone else instead of watching you, right? So being authentic to who you are is very, very important. And it's not going to come in the first few videos, but as and when you keep uploading, you will find it, and then you will know what's working for you.
And also, like you had mentioned about the comment, I mean, since this was one of the few experience that you had, you had said that you have a comparatively better experiences, touch wood though. But what
Touch
about
wood.
people who, face such criticism, or uh, in the initial videos of these young people come across such
Yeah.
comments, how do they deal with that then?
So to all the young women, I would just like to say that you have to take a step back and figure out who's really making this comment, right? This person is probably a nameless, faceless person on the internet. So does their comment really matter to you? Because when you go out in the society, there are 100 people who are going to say 100 things about you, and you cannot internalize it, and you cannot let that bother you. It's similar to what if somebody's, for instance, giving you constructive criticism or a fair feedback, that is completely fine. But if somebody is going to come out there and speak about weight and looks and all of those things, please don't pay heed. I mean, would you pay heed to anybody at a wedding function who's going to ask you, aap shadi kab kar rahe ho? No, right? So then why does this matter as well? So please don't pay heed to anybody who says anything about your body, your looks, or anything else. It doesn't matter. Go out there and just make authentic content. That's the only thing that matters. And I'm sure the audience will love you. Another aspect to content creation, of course, is the technical aspect of things, right? So you have to sort of figure that out. One would be whether you want to what should your format be? Will it be in a studio? Will it be in your bedroom? Will it be outdoors? And all of these are absolutely fine. So I think that is super important. The second aspect is, how are you going to shoot that video? It's very, very simple. Everybody has great quality phones nowadays, and you do not need fancy equipment. Even with Jenny, we use our phones to shoot a lot of our videos, all our videos, in fact. But to figure out what is the frame going to be, how are you going to interact with the camera, that is the difficult or the tricky part, to so to speak, right? So that is something that you must figure out. The other super important thing, which I think a lot of creators don't give too much attention to, is editing. uh, Nowadays with AI, it has become very, very easy, but you also have to find an authentic editing style. So it's one thing to be authentic on camera, but it's totally different as to how are you going to treat that entire footage and make it very different from what other content creators are doing. You have a lot of AI apps nowadays that can help you. For me, we personally use professional editing softwares like Adobe Premiere Pro. There are a lot of tutorials which are available online, so you can easily learn it and you can easily try and figure out your style in the edit as well. The hook is very important. Everybody tells you that the first 3 seconds, but I personally feel like the first second itself on social media is super, super important. So how will you stand out where there's so much of content, right? Because when people ask me who's my competition, I think it's everybody on the internet, right? It's a fashion influencer, it's an entertainment influencer, it's a finance influencer, everybody. So when there's so much content coming, why would somebody stop and watch you? So you have to figure that out. And this comes everything from your on-screen personality to how you finally package that off the screen to again bring it on screen. So how you are on screen plus how you edit and package your content, and then how you put it out there. Because again, there are so many social media platforms, and the way you treat a story on Instagram is very different from the you would probably treat it on YouTube, right? When you're making an explainer, your first 5 minutes are very different, whereas on Instagram, your first second and your first hook is again very different from what it would be from a longer sort of format.
So if I have to put it, it would be like first you understand what you are creating, what story you are telling, be authentic, getting comfortable with the camera, and then slowly developing the hard skills and understanding your storytelling format, understanding how you want to stand out in this space, and then improvising it continuously.
Of course, and goes without saying the niche is also very important.
Yeah.
Like, what is your content about? Yeah, so that is super important as well. And then finding a psychograph, like who is going to be interested in watching your content. So figuring out those minute details also really helps create a good video package.
And what would you say to somebody who wants to start out and who might be overwhelmed after hearing so many things that they are supposed to do?
Yeah.
What would be your message?
To someone like that, I would just like to say, start by putting your phone in front of your face and just start speaking. The more you do that, the more you'll probably figure out what you want to do and how you want your content to develop and how you want your personality to develop. So it's always about taking the first step.
Cool.
It also helps, like if you love a content creator and you really want to adapt their style, then it also helps to sort of start by recording yourself in their style a little bit and then see how you can adapt your personality to their style.
So it just gives you a framework sort of thing to begin somewhere. But
Yeah.
the crux is to
Yeah,
start
begin
somewhere.
somewhere. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.